Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, government spends $480 million on post-Maria housing renovation. The IOM says its 2019 work plan is ready as it wraps up a significant part of its mission. And the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, says diabetes remains a major contributor to premature death in the region. The details coming up.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
First up in the news, over $480 million invested in renovating Dominica's housing sector. Deputy Prime Minister Reginald Austri says the damage suffered from Hurricane Maria was extensive and ran into the millions.
The post-disaster needs assessment conducted by the World Bank following the passage of Hurricane Maria reported that damage to the housing sector was extensive and affecting approximately 90% of the housing stock. Of these 31,348 homes comprising of the Dominican housing stock, a total of 4,700 houses, which is 15%, were identified as destroyed. Approximately 23,500 homes were estimated to have been damaged at different levels, and some 3,135 were considered as not affected by the event. 3,000 out of 31,000. Total damage to the housing roof sector was estimated at $956 million EC dollars, or 354 million US.
Mr. Austri says to date there has been a significant investment in the reconstruction of the housing sector.
For homes under construction, the government has invested some $486.2 million. A total of 57 contractors have been engaged. And if we think of the multiplier effect on the economy for employment creation and trade in goods and services, the numbers are even more significant. In terms of housing assistance for home repairs, a total of $112.4 million, EC dollars that is, have been spent, spanning every community, every constituency, and benefiting somewhere in the region of 4,000 households.
The Deputy Prime Minister was speaking at a function where the UN's International Organization for Migration, IOM, announced the completion of its roof repair and courthouse project. Austri commended the IOM for adhering to Dominica's building codes.
Very early in the process of housing repair and recovery following Maria, the government mandated a review of the building codes and the housing standards to ensure that every roof repaired and every house or building reconstructed was built to a climate resilient standard embedded in the Dominica Building Code. It is my understanding that the IOM worked with the Ministry of Housing, the Ministry of Planning, and the Physical Planning Division to observe these regulations. It is my hope that the Planning Division and the Ministry of Housing would have given the approval and or certification that the core houses which are being symbolically handed over today have met these standards.
A local health professional is urging the nation to focus on the prevention of diabetes at an early stage and not just when one has been diagnosed. Nurse Priscilla Privot, who is also a nutritionist and wellness advocate, has been speaking with Channel 5 News on the subject as part of the observance of World Diabetes Day on Wednesday. This year's theme is the family and diabetes. Nurse Privot shared her own story of her mother's success in reversing the disease through lifestyle changes.
I can speak of my own mother, who she was on medication for both hypertension and diabetes, and she has been on a plant-based diet for more than, almost 10 years, and now she's not on any medication, and her blood pressure and her blood sugar is well controlled.
Ms. Prevost is encouraging the public to increase the intake of fruits and vegetables. She says diabetics need to manage the number of servings of fruit that they eat, but they can be more liberal with vegetables.
Vegetables, they are high in fiber, they're high in vitamins and minerals, and of course they make you feel full. But you also need carbohydrate. We need complex carbohydrate, that is carbohydrate where there is fiber. So we usually say whole wheat bread instead of white bread, because white bread is devoid of fiber. You would use brown rice instead of plain white rice because the white rice is devoid of fiber. We use a ground provision instead of pasta and macaroni and those processed foods that we now have. And you can prepare those foods nicely and taste nicely. I mean, vegetarian basically, maybe if you get to, but and I eat healthy. I eat out sometimes, and I choose what I eat: vegetables, beans, provision, rice, and basically that is my lunch meal. And we have a lot of different types of beans, so food doesn't have to be boring, because there are different colors, different types, and you can prepare them in different ways to make it appetizing, to make it tasty, and also to make it look attractive, to the eye. Because God have placed in the foods, you have placed color, you have placed taste, you have placed, everything, nutrients in there to really keep us going healthy and productive and strong. So as the theme says, diabetes and the family, it should be a family affair, a family business. So the family can come together and discuss and see. They may not have a person with diabetes in the family, but they can come together and say, listen, probably looking at us, we're a little bit overweight or obese or whatever, there's obesity in the family, and as a result, we are at risk for developing diabetes. Let us make a change.
Prevost says there is also a place for temperance and trust in God in the quest to beat the diabetes epidemic. Diabetes estimated to affect 10 to 15% of the adult population in the Caribbean region. That's according to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA. A CARPHA release says diabetes remains a major contributor to premature death in the region. Insulin-dependent type 1 diabetes is most often diagnosed in children, teens, and young adults. But the region's public health agency says more are developing type 2 diabetes. Although type 1 cannot be prevented, type 2 diabetes can be with support from family. CARPHA says parents and guardians can play a key role in instilling healthy behaviors and lifestyles for their children. Obesity is the strongest modifiable factor for type 2 diabetes in the Caribbean. The disease is becoming more common in children and teenagers. If children are overweight or obese, the release says they are at a higher risk of diabetes later in life. In more health news, the National HIV/AIDS Response Program calling on Dominicans to play their part in helping the country reach a target set by an international health organization.
The World Health Organization, WHO, along with the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, and UNAIDS have embarked on the 90-90-90 campaign, an ambitious treatment target to help end the AIDS epidemic. Interim coordinator with NOP, Lester Guy, says though the institution's frequency and method of testing were affected by Hurricane Maria, the country can still be on track to meeting the 90-90-90 goal.
It will mean that 90% of persons within who are seeking health care would have gotten tested. And out of that 90% of persons who are seeking health care and gets tested, 90% of these people would get on treatment. And out of that 90% who are on treatment, we are targeting 90% of these people get virally suppressed. And virally suppressed means that if you're HIV positive and you're placed on medication, that the amount of virus in the system goes down to a point where it's undetectable. In fact, I've read a few articles which says the viral suppress is basically saying that you have less than 1,000 copies of the virus in the system.
Guy is encouraging Dominicans to get tested, both to ascertain their status and help the country in reaching the international goal of ending the AIDS epidemic.
Because it's quite easy that if, for example, you get tested and you're a latent person and let's say we do your viral load, which is the amount of virus in your system per deciliter of blood, is 1 million. When you start the medication, over a period of about between 3 months, it should drop at least 10-folds. And after that, it drops, and it works. And what it does for this whole aspect of transmission and talking about HIV is that once your virus is suppressed, the chances of you passing the virus over to somebody else, if you were to have unprotected sex with them, is extremely low. It's just about between 2 and 1%. And that is where we are headed with the 1990 target. Looking to get that target, and by 2030, it should be that nobody should be dying of AIDS.
The 1990 campaign is expected to be completed by the year 2020.
In other news, 300 vehicle owners signed consent forms giving the authorities permission to dispose of derelict vehicles located across the country. Hurricane Maria exacerbated the menace of derelict vehicles in the country, and the Environmental Health Department is currently halfway through a drive to properly dispose of these vehicles, which also pose a health risk. A survey done by the Solid Waste Management Corporation indicated that there were a little over 600 derelict vehicles in the country. The Environmental Health Department and the Solid Waste Management Corporation are collaborating in an effort to rid the country of these vehicles. Acting Chief Environmental Health Officer Tassie Thomas is encouraging owners of derelict vehicles to take advantage of this window of opportunity to get rid of them.
We are still promoting that. There are a lot of people out there that have not come forward to sign this form, give us the okay to have their derelict vehicles removed. And after the 26th of November, we will go out there and issue the notices warning them for court if they do not remove their derelict vehicles. And we are only given 3 days to have it removed. This is the time to take advantage. It's a Christmas gift, really, because I know how difficult it is to get a derelict vehicle out of the government road and so on. And then if you have somebody doing it for you, I mean, free of charge, come on. You don't have anything to pay. It's a giveaway.
A removal of derelict vehicle drive started October 1 and will end, as you heard, on November 26. The Environmental Health Department has issued its criteria for what it constitutes a derelict vehicle.
The criteria remains the engine, either the engine has been removed or the 4 tires are flat or have been removed, broken glasses, and the next criteria is that it's either the vehicle currently is not insured or it has not been licensed. It is currently not licensed or it has not been licensed for 6 months. So that is the criteria for derelict vehicles.
The Solid Waste Management Corporation continues to play a key role in this drive to eradicate derelict vehicles. For a stipulated time, Solid Waste is hauling these vehicles away at no cost to vehicle owners. There is a penalty, however, for those who fail to take advantage of this opportunity.
The penalty is $500 forthwith, or and every day that derelict vehicle remains on the government sidewalk, you pay $100. So you go to court, you are charged $500 to be paid right away, or else you would have to end up in stock farm. And for every day that derelict vehicle remains there, you have to pay $100. So you go to court with us, and then you lose. You pay the $500, and you are hustling looking for somebody to haul that derelict vehicle away to the landfill for you. It will cost you anywhere between $300 and $500 to remove that derelict vehicle from the sidewalk. Whereas presently, the Solid Waste Management Corporation has come on board with us, and they are proposing to remove the derelict vehicles from anywhere in the country free of charge. Solid Waste has haulers of derelict vehicles in every area of the country. They have in the north, they have in the south. Actually, they have up to 5 haulers removing derelict vehicles to a disposal site. We have different sites around the country where they are temporarily disposed of, and then they are taken care of from there.
Solid Waste will not haul away vehicles unless owners sign a consent form indicating they are willing to have their vehicle removed. You are watching Channel 5 News. More after the break.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Les moun qui ni TB estene et ben tout se, moun qui en bonne santé oli wan ka respire se vermine la. Moun qui pa ni bon tepewaman kon sa ki ni maladie HIV, alcool, ka fumer, ti mamay e grand moun bien sensible pour ces maladies ça la. Moun qui ka tousse ni pou prendre précaution le yo en parmi moun en place publique, couvert bouche ou le ka estene et tousse. Visitez docteur et ben place santé. Fini tout traitement yo ba ou sa joine guérison et puis maladie TB. En responsabilité ou aider du bout si men maladie TB et HIV, protéger corps et les autres.
The International Organization for Migration IOM announces the successful completion of one of its major projects in Dominica.
The IOM, which arrived on island shortly after Hurricane Maria, began its roof repair and courthouse project in April this year. The goal was to repair over 600 roofs and construct 80 courthouses. So far, 71 of the 80 courthouses have been completed and more than 700 roofs have been repaired.
And step by step, we moved ahead. And more than 1 year later, IOM and our partners repaired over 700 resilient roofs and provided 80 families with a resilient core house. Most of them before the peak of the hurricane season 2018. Without our partners, we couldn't have done it.
WEGDAM says there is still a lot of work to be done, and the organization already has its work plan for 2019 mapped out.
In 2019, we have the following concrete things planned. We're still repairing roofs and building core houses. Recently, we received some funding from Habitat for Humanity, and we have received an in-kind donation from the Caritas network. I'm also pleased to tell that we're talking to the government of Dominica to see if we can support more vulnerable families with housing and, for instance, wash facilities. We're supporting the Office of Disaster Management with the communication about possible disasters, preparedness activities, and the repair of 12 emergency shelters across the country, and that's supported by the United States.
The Australian government funded the IOM-led courthouse project.
In the last few months, IOM has used Australia's contribution of $900,000 to build 80 resilient core houses to house 80 of the most vulnerable households in Dominica. These core houses provide the essential resilient shelter that some Dominicans still need, but we're pleased to at least have made through the IOM program, a small dent in Dominica's needs.
209 people in the 14 communities where the IOM works will benefit from the courthouse project. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
The Environmental Health Department concerned about hundreds of derelict vehicles across the country with the potential to harbor rats and mosquitoes. Acting Chief Environmental Health Officer Tassie Thomas says on the surface derelict vehicles are an eyesore, but there is a much bigger problem. Thomas believes these abandoned vehicles can create the perfect environment for mosquitoes and rats to thrive, leading to serious outbreaks of disease such as chikungunya and even leptospirosis.
These old vehicles, they act as harborage for rodents, and we know the rats are vectors of leptospirosis. And leptospirosis, I have to tell you, leptospirosis kills, because the thing about leptospirosis is that it mimics other illnesses, even the common flu. So you never know when you're coming down with leptospirosis until it reaches the second stage, and then it's too late for you because your organs have started failing. So leptospirosis rats, they are no friend of ours, and we want to ensure that we keep our environment clean. They collect water, and you have mosquitoes breeding everywhere in these derelict vehicles, and we know again the problem that these mosquitoes pose, especially those that like to live close to human habitation, the dengue mosquitoes. They are capable of spreading dengue, and we call them the dengue mosquito, but then the name really is the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It spreads dengue, it's the same mosquito that spreads Zika, and it's the same mosquito that spread yellow fever, and it is the same one that spread chikungunya disease. So we do not want mosquitoes in our midst if we can help it, and derelict vehicle is a big culprit for breeding mosquitoes.
Thomas says her department has taken measures to educate owners of derelict vehicles along the sidewalks to have them removed. As a first step, the next step may include court action. And the 47th meeting of the Council for Trade and Economic Development COTED will be held in Guyana from the 15th to the 16th of November. CARICOM ministers with responsibility for trade will focus on a number of key issues. Over the 2 days, they will focus on the CARICOM Single Market and Economy CSMA with emphasis on its implementation plan and challenges to that plan. They'll also examine ways of making the CSMA more effective and the definition of artisans and household domestics. The ministers also plan on discussing the direction of CARICOM's external trade policy as well as the community's trade relations with the United Kingdom post-Brexit.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
To end the news, a look again at the headlines. Government spends $480 million on post-Maria housing renovation. The IOM says its 2019 work plan is ready as it wraps up a significant part of its mission here. And the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, says diabetes remains a major contributor to premature death in the region. Feel free to contact us at news@mapping2k4.com. You may access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.